Scott Russell, I wanted to share a little bit for the more spiritually minded out there. Why believe, why I know things are going the way they're going. I'm first and foremost a minister. I've been that my whole life. I'm not an economist. I'm just talking some common sense things that I believe from my perspective of what I've seen for a lot of years. A lot of years of global travel, of living, migrating, lived in Portugal for a while, lived in the USA for 20 years, Boston, Washington, DC, Pensacola, Florida, Half Moon Bay in San Francisco, which is Silicon Valley. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the spiritual side of what I saw and why my life has been this way. And I'm going to summarize it, shorten it, because it's a long journey that I don't particularly want to get into all the ins and outs of. My purpose for this video is to sort of make it clear to you that if God has men like me that I believe he's put aside for this sort of thing for over 20 years, there's others. That God is not like surprised by what's happening here. The world is not out of control. In fact, God is very much in control. People could say, well, why is he doing this to us? He's not. The Bible talks about the consequences for our own actions. And as men and women, we've lived like there is no God. I talk a lot on a lot of my videos about romance. And the reason I do that is, there's a few. But one of the things I want to talk about that sort of thing for is because it's God's heart. And we've spent a lifetime in control, doing what we thought was best in relationships we should never be in, doing things we should never be doing, because it's not for our best interests, it's not for our heart. And it's about time we started to get honest with ourselves and realize that we need to make some hard decisions, some hard choices, and move to what needs to be in our life. And I believe when we don't do that, we thumb our nose at God like, well, you don't matter. We're about to discover how much he does matter. When your life collapses, when your world spirals out of control, that's when you find out there's a loving God who has his arms around you and is guiding you and taking you where you need to be. I wrote a book on this journey. The first part of my journey I could not understand, but I've lived this collapse for over 20 years. And as you read the book, you'll see it, Vegetable Garden, Faith and a Corvette. It's on Amazon, it's on Lulu. If you don't have the money, I'm happy to send you a digital copy. Just send me a message. But it's talking about journeying out of religion and into relationship, into faith, into something that brought life and freedom. And that's my life now. There's people that I love, care about. There's a lady I love, care about. If that person's going to ever be in my life, they're going to surrender to romance, not surrender to logical control. Because, the more we control life, the less we have romance. The more we control life, we end up with the mess that we're coming into in this world. And that comes down to a micro level of our lives. When we control what we think, because of our pain, because of our fear, because of our insecurities, we don't know what love is. We don't know what unconditional love is. So we try to control, and the more we control, the more we destroy. It's a case of letting go, saying, you know what, I feel the romance, I'm surrendering to the romance. Everything we need will be taken care of in that. So with that, I want to share a little bit about my journey. So I'm the son of a minister, a pastor's son. I grew up in a pastor's home. You can read the book for all that. But back in 99, I was taken to the US by, I can only call an act of God. I got a US residency, which I didn't want. I fought it, but ended up there. In the US, I lived without visible means of income during a boom and a bust. I lived in God's economy. And what I found in God's economy is it's constant. He takes care of you. It's outside the world's economy. And to live in that is unsettling at first. But as you start to realize that you're loved, which took me a long time, I'm still learning it maybe, then things start to get better. So there's a lot of stories, a lot of things that happened. Again, you can read the book for that. But I want to pick it up in early 2000, having arrived in the US, got to Boston, a lot of supernatural reasonings why I was there, how we got there, all the rest of it. But started to see vision of currency that deep on the streets of Boston. People were throwing it out of the windows like a ticker tape parade in disgust at this God they'd served for so long that had failed them. I had no clue what that meant. I was looking at it through my religious mindset, no clue. So the next 20 years basically was God breaking that religious man and making him a spiritual man. Yes, I love Jesus, and other videos I've talked about that. But here, I'm just leave it with that and say that spiritual journey changed me. And I believe now that the systems that I see of government that is persecuting the world are no different to church systems. Churchianity, I call it. True church is people. True church are you and I together resonating in heart like a true marriage. And will I be married to all of you? No, not naturally, but spiritually, some of you, yes. Naturally, there'll be that one, that we merge spiritually, we have intercourse spiritually, then we'll have intercourse with our soul and our hearts that will come into natural intercourse. And some woman at the right time will want that. She'll be pulled to that. And her whole world, it doesn't make sense, and it won't make sense why she wants to be there, and it'll mean so much changes and things. But she'll be stuck. She has to do it because she's being pulled by the what's right and what's supposed to be. And then I think it's a life of never stopping in that romance. And that's the beauty of it. So anyway, I'm not getting on to women and romance. I'm just saying in God, it's the same with us. And so I believe America has become a nation that's very religious. And it's like a religious marriage. Do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. Who wants that? It's like hard work. It's not love. It's just a partnership to try to get things done. And every partnership fails. Every partnership. Partnerships are born in insecurity and they die in insecurity. And they never last. It's just when we wake up to ourselves and realize this thing's on its way out, time I took some action and moved into a flow of what's right with life. America, you have lived for yourselves. You have lived in religion, thinking that you have God, but the romantic flow of a romantic God has been devoid, gone, largely. I'm generalizing. We feel it. People love the feel of those little pulls. I've touched this woman romantically. Maybe she can feel little tugs, but it's up to her if she responds. I can't force a response. I can't tell her, you have to respond. No, the invitation's there. She knows the invitation's there. It's what she does with it now as to where we discover with our future. And that's it with America. There is so much coming down the pipeline that is a major problem and a major mess. But God is saying to you, I have the answer. I am the answer. Will you surrender to that? I saw a vision of streets in Boston full of people that were being touched by God, that in a way, a romantic way. They were just saying, I want religion, but they're being lit up on the inside to understand they matter, that they're loved, that life is good. And so when I look at all the trash that's happening, I know there's good coming. And I look at this good and I know I'm going to be right in the middle of it. I saw people in vision in the streets of San Francisco coming into the parks just sovereignly and standing around together and singing and rejoicing and dancing and all night just being there and sharing meals and inviting each other to their houses for meals. And the religious people, they had want nothing to do with it. I saw a transvestite man like Klinger off of MASH in my vision, hairy legs and everything in a woman's dress. And he was a pastor. He'd been a pastor in a church that had left and gone into the transvestite lifestyle. But you know what happened is God lit him up. He was just living on the street in freedom and in life and in joy. And people couldn't understand that. Well, if he had God, he wouldn't look like that. And it was like the guy was so free, he didn't care what he looked like because he was free. And whom the Son sets free is free indeed. That's what's coming to America. That's what we're looking for. That's not looking for it. That's going to happen. The romance of God. So I invite you, draw aside with God, walk on a beach, talk to God, start to let him speak to you and let him bring the people to you that need to be in your life, because the future is yours. But it's all dependent on what you do with it, because I tell you what, I'm here, I'm on the journey, come and join me.